Wyoming has the smallest population in the country, yet its congressional primary race tomorrow is highly anticipated. The Cowboy state has only one congressional seat, and right now it's filled by Republican Liz Cheney. But it is an uphill battle for her to keep that seat after she voted to impeach Donald Trump and then became the vice chair of the January 6th committee. Trump won Wyoming with almost 70% of the vote in 2020. And at the moment, Cheney is running almost 30 percentage points behind her Trump-backed opponent, Harriet Hageman. Cheney is even asking Democrats to switch parties to vote for her. So I want to get perspective from two Wyoming voters, one a Democrat who did switch parties just to vote for Cheney, and the other a Republican who plans to vote against Liz Cheney. So let's start there with Myrna Burgess. Myrna, thanks so much for your time. What don't you like about Liz Cheney?
Well, I think one thing that stands out to me at this point of time is that while she has been a very conservative vote in the legislature, she just seems to be swinging a little bit more toward the left. But even before that, in the last couple of years, it just does not feel like she really represents the state anymore.
And let's talk about that, Myrna, because when you say she's swinging more towards the left, I mean, I think that she voted on, in terms of the issues, she is where Donald Trump is. She voted with Donald Trump, I think, on 93% of the time. She's conservative. And so,
I get that.
yeah. So what, in terms of why aren't those issues or her positions on those issues as important to you?
Well, like I say, that has been the case. But here recently, I mean, you take, for example, the gun vote. That is not pro Wyoming. She's not representing her constituents anymore. When you start voting against guns and the Second Amendment, that becomes an issue for a very large number of Wyoming voters. And then you look at the chip bill. That is basically a corporate giveaway. And that's not something that's exactly a conservative vote either.
And how do you feel about the role that she's played in investigating the January 6th insurrection?
I don't like it.
Why not?
I feel like, well, I feel like she did not even bother to stop at the very inception of this. Her basic take on it was, I don't know what the facts are. I've already made up my mind. And she said something very much to that point. She already made up her mind before she ever went in. He was guilty of what they say he did.
But are you comfortable with it being investigated?
Investigate away, just don't make it a setup. Things do need to be investigated, but they need to be investigated fairly.
And do you think that Joe Biden is the legitimate winner of the election?
I think there was a lot of Haiti stuff. There were a lot of states that basically pulled a lot of things that really weren't very legal. I think there were a lot of things behind the scenes. I don't know for sure, but I'm a little bit doubtful myself. Yes.
And does it console you at all that there were, something like 60 plus judges, some of them Trump appointed, all of whom looked at whatever evidence was presented to them, and they decided that there was no evidence of any sort of significant fraud that would have swung the election to Donald Trump, and that Joe Biden was the legitimate winner?
I'm not really sure what to think about that. That's kind of a hard one for me to look at. I also know that a lot of people that I consider very trustworthy sources have looked at the data, and they're very good at statistics and things like that. And they're just things that don't quite add up.
So what do you think Liz
I'm not
Cheney,
sure if the judges had information or if they didn't.
what do you think Liz Cheney's future is?
Well, it's kind of hard to say whether she'll win here. I mean, it is possible that she will. There's plenty of Cheney supporters out there. There's plenty of Cheney signs, but there's plenty of Hageman signs too. But I have a suspicion she's got something else on her plate, and I think that Wyoming always was a stepping stone. I don't think it was her first. It was her first step, but I don't think it was her ultimate goal.
Meaning president.
I don't know. I have no idea what's in her mind. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, that's been rumored very much. it's a possibility, but I don't think it'll happen even if even if she runs. I really can't see it happening.
Myrna Burgess, thank you very much. We appreciate getting your perspective on all of this. And now I
You
want to
bet.
turn to Pat Lauber, who's a registered Democrat for 40 years, but switched parties so she could vote for Liz Cheney. So, Pat, thank you very much for being here. So, you are a lifelong Democrat. Why are you voting for someone as conservative as Congresswoman Cheney?
Well, it isn't because of any policies that she has supported, but I think it's literally a vote to help save the republic. I see her as a person of courage and integrity who has told the truth that Donald Trump lost the election and yet tried with lies and manipulation to stay in office anyway.
Pat, isn't it so interesting? I mean, just the way, you represent the Democrat here, and, we just talked to Myrna about this, that you're willing to, both of you are willing to overlook her position on the issues. You don't think that her position on the issues is as important. Is that true?
That is true. I think you can always write a letter, talk to your representative's office, and argue policy. But when it comes to having a free and fair election, that is essential and that has to be upheld. I don't want Wyoming's lone representative to be someone who is beholden to an individual who demands absolute loyalty no matter what tricks he's up to. And I think that Harriet Hageman knows perfectly well that the election was not stolen, that it was not fraudulent, but she says what Trump wants to hear and therefore got his endorsement. I think that's pure ambition.
Pat, as I'm sure you know, Democrats are outnumbered in Wyoming, and at the moment,
Very.
the poll numbers are not looking good for Congresswoman Cheney. However, anything's possible, of course, tomorrow. Do you think that she is going to win?
I think the chances are very slim because her party has ostracized her, and many Republican voters will listen to the extreme leadership that is in charge of the Wyoming GOP at this time. They will follow that lead.
And then what do you think is next for her? Would you vote for her for president?
I doubt that very much. I don't think that I would.
Pat,
I think she's not going away, though. I think whatever happens tomorrow, that we have certainly not seen the last of Liz Cheney. She's highly intelligent, driven, um, and I think she is committed to serving the country.
Pat Lauber, thank you very much. Really appreciate getting your perspective as well.